The latest from 7 News with Gemma, Acton.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, breaking news as a stranded cargo ship breaks loose off the New South Wales coast. Fresh evacuations and flood rescues as Sydney is hit by another deluge. Promising signs of recovery for a jockey who suffered a horror race fall. And our chief reporter gives his insight after the Prime Minister's visit to war-torn Ukraine. First tonight, a major operation unfolding as crews work to get a cargo ship to deeper waters off the coast south of Sydney. The bulk carrier, Portland Bay, lost power in atrocious conditions today, and there have been tireless efforts to move it to safety. Sources tell 7 News the tugboat lines broke tonight and the ship was dangerously close to running aground near Cronulla. But it's understood teams have managed to get some power back to the engine and avert disaster. It's sitting about 1 nautical mile from the coastline. Sydney's flood emergency is changing by the minute. We'll cross to the SES in a moment, but here's the latest information. 82 evacuation orders are right now in place, covering around 30,000 people. On top of those, there are 64 flood warnings. At least 109 flood rescues have been carried out today. The areas of concern tonight, the city south around Warrenora and Bonnet Bay. In the southwest, Liverpool, Georges Hall and Moorebank. Nick Hose is live for us in Warrenora, an area under threat as we go to air. Nick, residents have been fleeing their homes there tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Gemma. Well, as night falls here in Warrenora and Sydney South, conditions just get even more treacherous. There was a huge dump of rain at about 4:30 this afternoon, and that pushed the Warrenora River up by around 50 centimetres, completely inundating people's homes all along that stretch of river. In fact, the rain's been really consistent the last few hours. It's been pretty treacherous here. Now we went with SES crews and some local police as they went door to door, just making sure that people knew that they had to evacuate and come to the RSL, which is behind me. That's an evacuation centre. In fact, hundreds of people are sheltering here right now. Already 300 homes have been damaged by floodwaters in Warrenora. Hundreds more are under evacuation. We've seen countless buses coming and going tonight, bringing people to shelter and to safety. We spoke to a couple of residents a short time ago about the flood emergency. Here's what they had to say.
4:35 went to the park and I saw it just started overflowing. And another photo I took was 5:17. It was hitting the house already, so 40 minutes done. Yeah, terrible. But anyway, I got a few boys over there. We lifted up as much as possible. Inside the house, maybe a foot of water.
Many houses like on the water have all gone under.
A lot of them, and a lot of cars have gone under too. They're all like covered in water.
Alarms and stuff going off.
Yeah, everyone's horns are going off because their cars are under.
We've just fixed up our house to try and just lift everything up for when the water comes through, but yeah, we've just been helping everyone else that's on the other side of the road because they're lower, so moving the cars and stuff to try and stop people from losing all their stuff. Warrenora's never been this bad. I was talking to the oldies that are up the road and they were saying they've been here for like 50 years and it's never been anywhere near this bad.
Now, Gemma, this community is not out of the woods yet. They face a really, really anxious wait, and that's because high tide of the Warrenora River is set to happen in about 30 minutes' time to an hour. And when that happens, it's going to push all that water back up into people's homes again. So it's going to be a really anxious wait tonight as they wait to see how that torrent of water may or may not damage their homes. But already people have been really severely impacted, and Gemma, it's going to be quite an anxious wait tonight.
A very long night ahead. Nick Hose, thank you. Let's go to the SES headquarters in Wollongong, where State Duty Commander Sean Kearns joins me live tonight. Sean, welcome. An unexpected deluge tonight has caused havoc in Sydney's south and southwest. What's the current situation there?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Gemma. Yeah, look, we have seen that rain continue falling over Sydney. So we do currently have 82 evacuation orders in place, covering a range of communities in that southern area of Sydney around Warrenora, in the southwest area of Sydney around Liverpool and Milpera, and Chipping Norton, and still up around northwest and western Sydney as well. So what we are saying to people is listen to the warnings coming through from New South Wales SES. And listen and monitor the Bureau of Meteorology website for the current updates.
Sean, how many homes are under threat around that region?
Look, there are quite a number of homes under threat. There are currently over 30,000 people that are covered by the evacuation orders and evacuation warnings. So that's a large amount of people. And as you sort of alluded to in the lead up to this, to me, is that it's still not over yet. The rivers are still rising. We are still seeing rises along the Hawkesbury River, and we are getting concerned about some communities along the Hawkesbury, particularly McGrath's Hill, and we are currently looking at upgrading their evacuation warning to an evacuation order soon.
Sean, with the rapidly changing conditions, a number of people have been caught out. Have there been many rescues tonight?
Yeah, look, today we've had over 100 flood rescues just since 9 o'clock this morning. Mainly that's been people driving through floodwater. So we would really remind people not to drive or walk in floodwater. It's extremely dangerous, and not only are you putting your own life in danger, you're putting those that need to come rescue you in danger as well. So it's really important that people are aware of their surroundings and be prepared for unexpected river rises. And with this heavy rain, the risk is also there as it moves up the coast, and it's going to move into the Central Coast and Hunter area. The risk of flash flooding still exists, and flash flooding by its very nature is unpredictable, so it can occur at really short notice, and so we do want people to avoid any unnecessary travel.
That's crucial advice. Do you have any last messages for the people in Greater Sydney for the next 24 hours?
Look, I really think it's important to avoid unnecessary travel, to listen to the warnings and check up the New South Wales SES website for the latest evacuation orders and evacuation warnings. If you do need assistance from New South Wales SES, please call 132 500. And if it's a life-threatening emergency, call 000 immediately.
State Duty Commander Sean Kearns, thank you so much for your time. I want to bring in Sally Bowery. Sal, what do the hours ahead look like?
Gemma, the major weather system pounding Sydney and its surrounds is starting to show signs of easing tonight, but that flood threat does, of course, remain. Rain will continue to be a risk tonight, even though it won't be falling with that same intensity, but any additional water, of course, is falling on such saturated areas at the moment that it is still going to have an impact. In fact, Sydney's main dam, Warragamba, is now spilling the equivalent of Sydney Harbour's worth of water a day. Tonight, the trend is for the bulk of that rain band to really just shift to the north of Sydney into the Hunter around the Central Coast, and that low is going to continue to slip away into tomorrow. We've certainly seen some extraordinary rain totals over the last 4 days. In fact, Kangaroo Valley has seen almost a metre of rain, while Sydney itself has amassed around 150 millimetres in the Gators over the past few days. That is actually double the city's July average. The other good news is those damaging winds will really start to ease into tomorrow once again as that system moves offshore. We will see the heaviest rainfall just in between Sydney and the Central Coast. Nothing like the hundreds of millimetres we have eclipsed over the past couple of days, but we will at least see falls around 50 to 60 millimetres. So unfortunately, it's not quite over yet, Gemma.
Thanks, Al. Right now, the Prime Minister is heading home from his trip to Europe. Anthony Albanese's last stop, a tightly guarded dash to Ukraine. There, the PM penned a cheque for $100 million in extra aid. He committed to sending more military vehicles and vowed to support the prosecution of Russian war criminals. Chief reporter Chris Reason is in Ukraine. He was there for the Prime Minister's visit. Chris, good evening to you. A short but very sobering journey. What were your observations? How taken aback was the PM by what he saw?
Yeah, good evening to you, Gemma. Well, we've come back to Irpin, the district that the Ukrainian authorities brought Mr Albanese to yesterday, and we've come to the very spot where he showed the most emotion yesterday when he went on this walking tour through this devastated residential area. It was this car that caught his eye. Let me show you what he was looking at. These aren't bullet holes. This is the shrapnel signature of a mortar shell that appears to have blasted here on the ground. We can show you here, and projected the projectiles in this direction. God help anyone that might have been standing anywhere nearby this at the time. Now, it was fascinating to watch Mr Albanese's reaction. I pulled him up shortly afterwards and said what was running through his head, and he would talk not only a bit emotionally but also with some anger, talking about Russian war crimes surrounding the incidents here. But The Ukrainian government have now got this down to a fine art. They're doing it with every single world leader that comes and visits. Basically, Gemma, they bring them here, they show them this devastation, mass graves down the road. Albanese, a former aviation minister, they showed him the world's biggest plane that had been destroyed. Then they take them into the city and they meet up with President Zelensky. They've got them by the heartstrings, all emotional, and Zelensky says, right, show me the money. What cash have you got? And in this case, of course, Australia coughed up $100 million, plus promises to come back and fix up the place in a reconstruction effort. Not sure how the people of Lismore and the bushfire affected areas are going to feel about that, but that was another commitment unreported yesterday. But overall, Ukraine's president saying very gratefully accept all of the help that Australia has so far offered.
Chris, what did you make of Anthony Albanese's meeting with President Zelensky? How was our Prime Minister received?
Well, let me put this to you, Gemma. How would it have been? This probably would have been one of the world's toughest gigs in terms of public speaking. Mr. Albanese in a war zone, ringed by security, taken into the presidential palace, a room full of international correspondents, and standing beside him is a man that basically the world have decided is the most popular leader on the planet right now, and also an orator who's been compared with Churchill. But you know what? Our Albo did well. He spoke with authority, with dignity, emotion, while Mr. Zelensky, understandably, was very much exhausted, was the impression I got from the President yesterday. But I spoke with Mr. Albanese afterwards. He said in the private conversations with the Ukraine President, he was supremely impressed by his focus, his passion. He walks away with an enormous amount of respect for Ukraine's leader.
Now, Chris, this is your second visit to Ukraine in recent months. Does it feel any different to you this time around?
Very, very different place here, in the capital Kyiv at least, Gemma. When we were here at the beginning of the war and for that first month, this was where the front line was. As you know, the Ukrainian defences managed to push the Russians back out of this area. Their operations now entirely focused in the east of the country in Donbass. They're going very well down there. Another victory overnight in the Luhansk region. That is dire news for Ukraine. Russia slowly winning that part of the war in something of extreme concern for this country and the international community. Gem?
Chris Reason in Ukraine, thank you so much for your time. Let's take you to Rochelle Brown in Melbourne, where the construction industry is shrinking further tonight. Hello, Rochelle. How many more companies have now gone under?
Gemma, at least 4 companies have gone under in this past week, leaving hundreds of homes in limbo. Now, this is the result of the perfect storm. The construction industry has had to deal with supply chain disruptions, with the skyrocketing costs of materials and the labour shortages. Now, Langford Homes, Western Port Constructions, Wolfram Constructions and Snowden Developments are all in financial trouble. At Langford Homes alone, 65 projects are now in jeopardy, and the creditors are owed more than $10 million. Now, at least 4,000 companies in Australia have gone under this financial year. 28% have been in the construction industry. Now, that industry is also suffering through a mental health crisis tonight, so certainly they have their work cut out for them to try and get back on their feet. Gemma?
A perfect storm indeed. Rochelle Brown, thank you. A nursing home in Melbourne is tonight looking at a potential $13.5 million fine over a deadly COVID-19 outbreak. 45 residents at St Basil's died of the virus in 2020. The facility has been charged by WorkSafe with 9 breaches of failing to enforce proper use of and training around PPE after a worker tested positive. Now, keep an eye out for this elaborate Medicare scam. A mother of 4 from Perth received a text asking for her credit card details for a COVID-19 kit. She obliged. Then a call supposedly from the bank saying she'd been hacked and needed to open new accounts. $19,000 were transferred. NAB has recovered $74. A new video tonight that's harder to watch as the seconds go on. A military aircraft crashing as it tried to land on an American warship off the coast of Queensland. The cockpit was crushed against the deck, the aircraft falling into the Pacific Ocean near Rockhampton in 2017. 3 Marines were killed. Live to Joel Dry outside Brisbane's Princess Alexandra Hospital, where a young jockey injured in a race fall is being treated. Promising signs tonight on her recovery, Joel. What's the latest?
Yeah, Gemma, there are just some small positive steps, but important ones for 24-year-old Leah Kilner here at the PA hospital. This afternoon, whilst in an induced coma, she was able to briefly wake up from that state. Just enough time to squeeze her mother's hand, who was very much by her bedside here in Brisbane. She is now back in an induced coma to try to relieve some of the swelling on her brain. Still suffering really serious injuries, including some cracked ribs and also a broken collarbone following that shocking race crash yesterday at Grafton. She was in the home straight on board her horse, Dusty Tycoon, when for some reason the animal buckled at the front legs, sending the 24-year-old jockey hurtling to the ground. She was unconscious. She remained there for some 60 minutes. The rest of the day's races were called off while a helicopter was scrambled to pick her up and bring her back here to Queensland, where she has since undergone some treatment. But it is in some good news. We can confirm that they have cleared her of serious spinal injuries, so that is positive. We've also spoken to some of her friends, some of the people that she rides for. They have all said she is such a promising young jockey, some 200 wins under her belt. But it's not just the quality of her riding she's known for, it is the quality of her character. A ripping young lady who has got such promise in the industry. Hopefully she will get back onto her feet. Whether she rides again is yet to be known, but we all have our fingers crossed that she will make a full recovery. Gemma?
Well, we certainly do. Joel Dry, thank you. New details from Copenhagen tonight. Police say the gunman behind a deadly shooting at a shopping mall had a history of mental health issues. We're told the 22-year-old wasn't motivated by terror and he acted alone. 3 people were killed and 4 others injured. The shooter is right now being questioned. Europe correspondent Sarah Greenoch is live in London, staying across the Australians playing at Wimbledon. Sarah, a big night for our remaining competitors.
Massive night, Gemma, for the Aussies. This is the first time that we've had 4 Australian players in the 4th round of the Wimbledon Championships since 1999. If all 4 were to win their matches today and progress into the quarterfinals, that would be for the first time since 1974. So we're hoping for that, but it is not all going exactly to plan at this stage. We've currently got 19th seed Alex de Minaur on court against Chile's Christian Garin. De Minaur won the first 2 sets. He lost the third and is now into the 4th. 4-2 down. Nick Kyrgios is then on centre court. He is up against America's Brandon Nakashima, a 20-year-old who has taken out the first set 6-4, and Kyrgios appears to be grabbing his shoulder, appearing to be physically in pain. There's been a lot of talk over the past few days whether he would be mentally holding up after what was an extremely controversial, bad-tempered match on Saturday between Nick Kyrgios and the Greek Stefanos Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas was hitting the ball at Kyrgios. Kyrgios was appealing relentlessly to the umpire. They have both been subsequently fined over their behaviour during that match. And then, of course, all of that continued, the chaos and the controversy in their post-match press conferences, with Tsitsipas calling Kyrgios a bully. So we know he is a divisive figure back home in Australia, but he is certainly the same here. Everyone you ask has a different opinion of him. All unanimously agree, though, that he is entertaining, Gemma. If de Minaur and Kyrgios both do win their respective matches today, they will face each other in the quarterfinal, which would be certainly a great thing for us Aussies to see. The other 2 Australians playing today, Ayla Tomljanovic and Jason Kubler, they will be playing later this afternoon, so plenty to keep across here.
Absolutely, an exciting night ahead for local tennis fans. Sarah Greenoch, thank you. Still to come, interest rates to go up again tomorrow, but by how much? What the experts are telling us. Plus the scams you need to look out for as Australians lose billions. And the giant vacuum cleaner that could help save the planet. That's next on The Latest from 7 News.
Who are these people?
These are my mates I was telling you about. You'll love them.
Give it up for Lyric.
Summer Bay won't know what hit it. Cash? Hello, stranger. Is there something you want to tell me?
About what?
About you and my brother.
Home and Away, this week on 7.
So you've turned 50 and you have early stage bowel cancer. You just don't know it. Bowel cancer takes more lives than breast, prostate or skin cancer. So everybody age 50 to 74 gets a free home test kit every 2 years. Put it in here, and your cancer will keep growing and growing. But if found early, there's a 90% chance of successful treatment. So please, don't put off the chance to save your life. Get to it.
Get your woolies worth with prices dropped on Australian pork boneless shoulder roast. Dropped to $8 a kilo, making fresh more affordable. That's today's fresh food people.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce me. Here I come. Yeah. Here I go.
Got $1 a week? At the Daily Telegraph, we're for giving you great value. Get digital access to all our news, including sport and entertainment, for just $1 a week for the first 12 weeks. Search Daily Telegraph offer today.
Wing It, the show where Aussies try doing their own tax return.
Can they conquer the non-deductibles?
Or the capital gains cannon.
All for a lousy return.
This tax season, don't wing it, ka-ching it. Book an appointment with the experts at H&R Block.
Who says one wellness fits all? That you need activewear to be active. Yeah, live like nobody's watching. Go on, take the plunge. Swap leg day for head day. Do pizza before Pilates. Surf a mountain. Actually, be the ball. Centrum Tailored Benefit Blends. Do wellness your way.
Clash of the season. First versus second. Full of superstars. But will the biggest of them all miss out? Will Max Gorn return and lead the Demons to victory?
Max, the skipper!
Against the Cats once again.
How about this?
In the biggest match of the season.
You gotta believe that!
Then, one finals dream will fall apart.
Does he get it through? He does!
Swans and Dogs fight to stay alive on a weekend where every win matters. Starting with Thursday night footy on 7 Mate.
Interest rates are almost certainly going up tomorrow for the third month in a row. The real question is, by how much? Economists expect an increase of 50 basis points, taking the official cash rate to 1.35%. The Reserve Bank Governor predicts a peak of 2.5% this year. Philip Lowe saying the back-to-back hikes are needed to curb inflation. Either scammers are playing a smarter game or we're just not listening to all the advice out there. More than $2 billion was lost last year. That's according to the Consumer Watchdog. We fell the hardest for investment fraud, some $710 million gone there, usually involving cryptocurrency. This year isn't looking any better, the ACCC reporting a 130% increase. In the mountains of Iceland, bobcats are breaking ground to make way for an ambitious machine. The brainchild of startup Climeworks, its name is Mammoth. The plant works like a giant vacuum, sucking carbon dioxide out of the air and storing it. Up and running in 18 to 24 months, it can capture 36,000 tonnes of CO2 per year. Every effort counts when you consider emissions hit a record high of 36.3 billion metric tonnes just last year. Christoph Beutler is Head of Climate Policy at Climeworks. Christoph, thanks for joining the latest. Intriguing innovation you have here. Explain to us how Mammoth works.
Yeah, Gemma, so Mammoth is a direct air capture plant and it removes CO2 from the atmosphere. It has a very specific filter inside that only attracts CO2. And what we do is we pull air through using renewable energy and then we heat the filter once it's full. We heat it to 100 degrees Celsius. And then the CO2 is released from the filter and we can start this process again. And in this way, we can remove several 10,000s of tons of CO2 from the atmosphere per year. But this is just a step to get to even larger scale.
Can you give us some idea of what 36,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide actually looks like?
It's not much, so it's a drop in the ocean, literally. We have to reduce emissions, but it's also now estimated by climate scientists that we have to remove CO2 in addition to that, and that will also have to happen in the gigaton scale. It's too early to say exactly where we need to be with this, because it also depends on how quickly we can reduce emissions. But currently, we're estimating around 6, 7, 8 billion tonnes per year.
Let's talk about the finances behind this. What's the cost to build and run this technology, and where are you getting that money from?
Yeah, so it's a new technology, and for example, like wind and solar 20, 30 years ago, this is still expensive, and currently we have private investors, high net worth individuals, but also professional investors who understand that this needs to be needs to become one of the largest industry in the world. And we're trying to build, this is our 18th project, we're trying to build more of these plants, thereby getting the costs down, and we hope to be around the 250, 300 mark in the 2030s in terms of cost.
Christoph, let's talk more about how Mammoth is powered. How do you keep that process as green as possible?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So obviously, if you are in the business of removing CO2 from the atmosphere, you must look at your emissions. So Mammoth is powered by a geothermal power plant that's just around the corner, and that has two advantages. So one, we don't have to transport the electricity very far, and we also have the storage site around the corner, and so we don't have to transport the CO2, so that keeps emissions down. And in terms of the mix, we need about 1/4 of electricity and 3/4 of heat. And the heat we can also obtain from the geothermal power plant, which is one of the greenest or least emitting sources of energy there is. And on top of that, the geothermal power plant also captures its emissions. They're very small, but they capture them as well. So it's literally a zero emission energy source.
So you're personally optimistic these technologies can make a real dent in cutting global emissions?
Yes, I am. Otherwise, I wouldn't be working for the company. But let me also say, we have to start this scale-up process now. We mustn't lose any time. We already need to scale at about 60% per year to get to the relevant volumes needed. For comparison, battery electric vehicles scale at 50% currently, and if we delay that, the scale-up rates will just become too ambitious. So optimistic, but also cautious that this is the last chance.
Well, we look forward to tracking your progress. Christoph Beutler, Head of Climate Policy at Climeworks, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gemma.
I'll have your weather forecast next on the latest from 7 News.
To know the news, you have to be there. Wherever it matters, we take you there like no one else.
Extraordinary conditions here on the coast in Sydney.
Know the news.
President Zelensky hailing this visit as historic.
Australia's #1 news source, 7 News, at 6 o'clock.
That's hot.
That's hot.
No, you're hot.
No, you're hot.
Are you copying me?
Are you copying me?
Shut up.
Save the bickering and save on dinner with Uber Eats Family Savers. That's 25% off family meals this weekend.
Green, keen. That's Eileen. Kareem, Irene, with friend Eugene. Green, apples, kids fruit free. Who wants one? Me. Electricity, clean, green, live, all stores by 2025. Fresh, steamed, string bean, mandarin, protein.
Chow Mein.
Put it in a tureen.
Oh, hello, Mr. Goldstein.
A murderator murdered. We could use that.
Oh, I'm going to work out who killed him. The answer's in the book.
Magpie Murders now streaming, only on BritBox. The ultimate collection of British crime drama.
In an Australian first in retail, your home of the outdoors is about to get a whole lot bigger. Truly interactive shopping experience like you've never seen before. Anaconda Adventure HQ opens this Saturday, 62 Hume Highway, Chullora. Anaconda!
Voltaren Osteogel 12 hourly with an easy open cap targets pain directly at the source. It relieves pain for up to 12 hours.
Thank you.
There's going to be some damaging storms on our west coast today. There could be wind.
No worries, Mr. Kim. I understand.
Moving to Nui, great spot.
Yeah, I heard about the storm.
I'll get your Wi-Fi sorted.
We have a few options for your dad. Let's get your business back online.
What does it take to be a master? Determination, craftsmanship, creativity, obsession. Why? For the love of chocolate. Excellence by the Lindt Master Chocolatier.
Imagine if you were forced to sleep on the street. This is a backpack bed. It's windproof, waterproof, portable and warm. But it's more than shelter. It offers dignity. Donate now to Backpack Bed for Homeless. Call 1300 OZ-HELP.
We're pretty smashed. Let's just chill tonight.
That's how you do it. Check consent every time.
It was less than a year ago when new names became etched into the legend of Australia. Ariane Titmus, Emma McKeon, and so many more are back at the Commonwealth Games. With so much medal action.
The swimming finals in the morning.
In prime time.
Gymnastics. The athletics.
Almost every Aussie team will compete live in prime time.
Let's bring it home.
The Commonwealth Games on 7 and 7+.
7's Commonwealth Games broadcast is brought to you by Toyota.
Welcome back to a dreary night over flood-hit Sydney. Remember, the SES and Bureau are updating their online pages with the very latest information. Tomorrow, more rain is in store, winds easing over the course of the day. Elsewhere, showers in Brisbane, partly cloudy for Canberra, Melbourne and Hobart, mostly sunny in Adelaide, drizzle over Perth and fine in Darwin. In regional parts of the country, a shower or two in Ballina, 18 the top, 23 degrees the maximum for Geraldton, mostly sunny, and morning frost for Bendigo, a high of 18. Well, thank you for your company this evening from the team here at 7 News. That is the latest. I'm Gemma Acton. Good night.